extensively, we talked extensively on the philosophy of social work, and I believe we have been able to revise what we talked about since I sent the, the lecture notes to us. So we as well talk about the philosophical foundations of social work. And we talked about the social work philosophy, which were about 8 that we outlined and explained during the last class. Can anybody mention to us some of the social work philosophy as we explained it to be last week? I mean, that's 2 weeks ago now. Yeah. Is there anyone who wants to just let us know what the philosophies are? Doris, just tell us 1 or 2 of what we talked about on philosophy of social work. We have Doris there. You can unmute and speak. Okay, if Doris is not there, is Florence Orji there?
Yes, I am here, sir.
Okay, just mention 1 or 2 of what we talked about last week.
So we talked about belief in the worth and dignity of an individual.
Okay, what does that mean?
It means that every individual matters.
Okay. I'm listening to you.
Okay.
You're trying to read?
No, sir, I'm trying to recollect.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Okay, last week, I think part of what we about was that social problems are caused by multiple factors. Yes, that's not a single factor is responsible for social problem, that they have multiplicity of causes.
Okay.
Am I right, sir?
Very correct.
Yes, sir.
So what are those causes? Mention 1 or 2.
The family, I mean, the causes could be from, family disorganization, could result in social problems. The cause could be from the family. It could be from, introduction of maybe technology, ICT could, contribute to social problems as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Olajide Dominion.
Who is in church now?
Please.
Hello, sir. Okay.
Please mute your, yes, yeah, disturbing us. Okay, but just tell us 1 of the things we talked about last 2 weeks ago. Since you are already muted. I mean, unmuted.
Okay, I wanted to say something. Okay, sorry, sir.
Okay, just go ahead. Olajide, please mute your mic. We are not speaking.
Okay, I actually want to. Good afternoon, sir. I actually want to support what the former my former the former person, their classmate, has said before the last one. Is actually part of the subtopics of the philosophies of the course that we treated. It says that we should believe in the worth and dignity of every individual. Then he also tells us to believe on the individual freedom, that individual freedom too matters. We should allow individuals freedom. We should believe in it. Whatever the person believes in, we should accept it. Then the interdependence between individual and the society. And then also we talked about the collective responsibility.
No, I don't mean you should tell us everything. Just expatiate more on interdependency between individual and society.
Every individual has his own how would I call it? I didn't really put much on that anyway. I only listed the topics that were to cover under subtopics.
Okay. Can somebody else try? Can somebody help her? Abdulaziz Sumilola, can you please speak? Unmute and speak.
Okay, so let me come in.
Okay, do.
Okay, so we looked at social work as an aspect that is backed by research. So which means it is scientific. It tailors the aspect of science in terms of carrying out investigations to get facts and observation that helps us to ensure that we have respect for individuals, respect for the community, and also identify their differences as well. So this is just my addition to the conversation.
Okay, we talked about interdependency between the individual and society. Can you please throw a little light on that?
Hello, sir.
Can you throw light on interdependency between the individual and society?
Yes, you mentioned that as individuals, we don't live in isolation. We depend on each other in terms of when you look at how we live collectively in the community. So we're interlinked regardless of our status, race, and qualification. We have common ground. We have common things that bind us together as a collective organization, and not just looking at us as an individual, as one entity.
Okay, thank you. Georgia Ejele. Georgia Ejele. Remind us one of those. Yeah, good afternoon. Remind us of one of those philosophy of social work.
Sir, I don't know. That's the honest truth.
Okay, thank you. Who else was there last week? Thelma.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I think you talked about humanitarian. Is it one of the philosophy? So I did not continue because my phone went off. But you talked about something humanitarian. Can't remember what you said, but you said that humanitarian is it theory or philosophy or so? That they have some characteristics that they organize. Sir?
That was not where we mentioned humanity. I've not come
Okay,
to ask that. I just said that the only factor that social work looks at when relating with the vulnerable, and whether the vulnerable or the rich, is humanity. Humanity is prime in the philosophy of social work. Okay. Doris Azo.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Okay, let's hear from you.
Sir, about this social work philosophy, you made mention of belief on individual freedom. That was the only thing I could get.
Somebody has already mentioned that.
Okay.
Okay, Ahmed Olafimihan. Ahmed Olafimihan. Tell us something about what we talked about 2 weeks ago. Please, as you enter the class, kindly name your device. Somebody is Samsung SMAO47F. Can you please put the right name? That person using Samsung SMA047F. Can you please put your name there? Hello. Okay, Akpan. Maika.
Good afternoon, sir.
Please unmute and speak. Okay, tell us something, please.
Good afternoon, sir. I would like to explain this in my own understanding. Under the philosophy, you talked about collective responsibility. Like in any given society, there are problems in the society. And for this problem that maybe in a family faces or the community, it is the collective responsibility of everyone to come together to solve those problems. So, like in example, or for example, when an individual has a problem, people will try to rally around people that maybe could counsel him or her to talk about how that problem could be resolved. While in a community's own, they will try as like see agencies or maybe leaders to still handle all the problems. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. You tried. Okay, who else is there that was in class 2 weeks ago? One Neo Dinachi.
Yes, sir.
One Neo, okay. Please say something.
You talked about belief in democracy values. So what I understood there is decisions are taken through consensus and nothing is imposed on the client. And meaning the social worker, the client and others are involved in the decision making. All decisions are made by everyone involved there. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Anyway, we have tried, at least we're able to say one or few things that we talked about in the last class. I just want to implore that we, before class, also try and scan through our lecture note. That's the reason it was sent. If not, I wouldn't have, but since it's been with you, just try and let's revise. Just look at it. Then when we come to class, we can discuss on what we have done previously. So we'll be able to move to the next items on our course. So today we'll be taking a step on the philosophy we have discussed last time we met. We just want to look at what the definition of social work is. Last week we talked about the philosophy, what informed the idea of social work. Why do we need social work? What is the primary motivating factors that brings about social work, or what are those things, the elements that we look at that says that this is a profession, or this is an academic discipline, and why should anybody venture into it? So we look at all that. I will look at all the things, or some of the things that back it. We narrow it down at the end of the class. So these 8 philosophies of social work, and we said that there are more of them, but the summary of all the philosophies that are informed social work are those 8 that we summed up. And this afternoon, we'll be looking at the different meaning of social work. So you, as a person, what do you think social work definition is? An ordinary man out there, what is social work? And to those who are educated, to researchers, and to social workers themselves, what is social work? It is important that we look into it, because having talked about the philosophy of social work, before the philosophy can be well grounded for us to be able to know, we must be able to identify what do people say about social work. When you say you are studying social work, which is intervention into the life and challenges of the vulnerables. And we said it is not just the vulnerables that social workers intervene in their challenges. Even those who are not vulnerable, those who are rich, each and everyone have psychosocial needs. And based on that psychosocial need, brings everyone to the point of vulnerability. Your psychosocial needs is what inform your vulnerability. And because of that, if your parents just advised you and your challenge was solved, you say the person is a social worker. Or if somebody is hungry and somebody came and gave him food, we say that somebody has done social work. If somebody was sick and then he was given treatment, we say the person is a social worker. If a community is passing through crisis and some people call them and then discuss with them and help them solve the crisis, we say they are social workers. But even though those who have done all this may not call themselves social workers, but now since social work is everywhere, and what they see social workers do are also the same thing, they think that others are doing. They also doing to alleviate or solve the challenges or problems of others. So they say, well, everybody is a social worker. Well, in a lighter mood, you can say that everybody is a social worker. And social work has been with us from the foundation of the earth. Even the work of creation is about social work. So social work, let's say Eledumare is the foundation of social work. So because of that, you discover that it will be said that everybody on planet Earth are social workers. So the meaning of social work is so complex and dynamic that it is almost impossible to give a universally accepted meaning to what social work is. It has been defined by different individuals, like we said, in various ways on the basis of their understanding of different individuals in the society under some objectives. So let's look at the meaning of social work to a man in the streets. A common man on the street has a very simple interpretation about social work. And according to anyone who performs such good deeds for the people is doing social work. Somebody who just meet the needs of others, they say the person is doing social work. That is for them, a layman or a person on the street see a person who does good deeds as a social worker. The person has done social work by doing good deeds. In this regard, the man in the street, however, tries to make a distinction between an ordinary man who carries on community activities voluntarily without any payment and the welfare worker who is appointed by a welfare agency for undertaking welfare work in the community and paid for his work. You see, they even understand that somebody in the community has been able to meet people's needs, maybe the person is a philanthropist, meet people's needs and things like that without collecting or without being paid by anybody. Somebody has been able to intervene into the challenges of others, into the crisis of others. They see that person doing more work than a person who goes out to do the same type of work and was being paid by an agency. Normally, as a person or as a person who cherishes what people do, you tend to tilt to the side of that person that says, anyone that does good work without pay, that is pro bono. It means that that person is doing more social work than the person who's being paid, because that person who's being paid was motivated by the salary or the stipend or the honorarium that he or she receives. So to a layman, a person who is doing good work without being paid is a social worker. Why? Because he has his own way of social work in the light of his experience and knowledge needing people in the community of needing people in the community. According to him, good and voluntary work by an ordinary man and the social welfare that is being paid by agency more or less is the same thing. But in the case of the former, there is more warmth of feeling towards the beneficiary. You see, another thing a layman looks at, I was telling some people somewhere, but there is something that the medical doctor call inoculation. Inoculation means that you have a disease, they take some of that disease and inject it into you for you to fight that disease that has come upon you, for the disease to now be neutralized and then you get well. I call the work of some people like that as well as inoculation, because to a layman, because of what they have been seeing in other professions, they say, oh, inoculation is also at work in those who even say they are working doing social work, because why? They have been doing this work over and over that they don't have human feelings again. So they can just snap at you, talk to you anyhow, and then engage you carelessly, like some other professions are also. So they don't see much about what a person like that is doing, forgetting that that person also is a human being, and blood also runs in the vein of that person. So they see such a person who is collecting nothing as doing more of voluntary social work. And the person is doing more. And they are seeing that social work is voluntary. Basically, it should be voluntary. Nobody should be paid for it. Those are the arguments of those who are laymen on the streets. Are we together?
Yes, sir. We are. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Now, let's look at the meaning of social work to a semi-professional. To a semi-professional. By a professional would mean that somebody who has gone to school, study a course, and has graduated, and is now also being certified as a professional by the body of professionals. So let's look at those who are just semi-professional. Maybe you have gone to school, but it's not yet admitted into the body of professional by being certified or licensed. A person can go to school, may not have a license to practice. He is a semi-professional. A person may even have done a course to a level and have been able to understand what that course is according to him or her, and people see him as a person who belongs to that professional, but is not really a grounded professional, is an unlicensed professional. So let's look at what people say or what they look like or what they say about what social work actually is or means to them. One, the interpretation of social work is given by those who are not trained social workers but work in some welfare agency. They believe that they have the right to be called social workers just because they are engaged in welfare activities. In their belief, because a person employed in the welfare agency and carries on welfare activities, he is a social worker and his activities are social work practices. That's how we are saying now. So these semi-professionals, they believe that because they have been on social work desk in their establishment or in their agency, hence they are social workers. Somebody who have gone to school, to a higher institution to study banking and finance, and the person finds him or herself in a medical center, and because they have been watching the medical practitioners practice all the things that they are doing in the care for those who are sick, and they may also know how to give injection. They may know, okay, what drugs to give somebody who has headache. They may know when somebody has a stomach ache, they may know what to give to the person. They may know how to look at the person and say, this person is pregnant. They may know they may know many things surrounding the medical practice. And does that make them medical practitioners? Does that make them medical doctors? Or does that make them a nurse or nurses? Does that make them a person that can perform surgery on others? The answer, I believe you will tell me, is no. Why? Because that person was not trained and was not licensed to be a medical doctor who can now uh, treat patients who come to the clinic. But when they leave that place and tell you, and some of us make that mistake, or it may not even be a mistake, that we call those who we have met in the hospital as medical doctor. For example, we went to Ebonyi State on a project, and we're going from hospital to hospitals, and they are calling those who are health workers, they are calling them doctors. In another place, they call them nurses. Because they are health workers, does that make them nurses? Does that make them medical doctors? And these people actually attend to patients. We saw them attending to patients, and they calling some of them doctor. That is the patients now, calling them doctor, calling them nurses, and things like that. And they were performing those functions. But in the true sense of it, are they medical doctors? Are they qualified? Are they licensed to be medical doctors? Are they licensed to be nurses and things like that? They are just to be there to assist. But since there are no professionals, so they step into the shoe of professionals and we're carrying out this. Little wonder you see that many people die in some remote areas. Why? Because of lack of all these professional, and other people are now the ones doing. So the same way in social work, you see that some people have studied Yoruba, some people have studied banking and finance, some people have studied religious knowledge, and then because the government or the agency do not know where to post them, by fiat, they just post them to social welfare departments for them, and they'll give them one form of training or the other for them to be able to perform the functions of social workers. Actually, they are graduates, fine. They have done a course, the course of courses of their own profession, but they find themselves in another person's profession or another field, were trained, and then they are doing. Does that make them social workers? So such semi-professionals see themselves as social workers, and the fact is that they are not. Even though they have stayed there, some of them are even risen to the point of being chiefs and directors. Okay? Professor Clark points out two deficiencies in the concept of the social worker and social work that we are trying to explain. One, he said that they seem to forget that not all persons who work in a large welfare fields are social workers, but may be experts in housing, recreation, social insurance, nursing, accounting, etc., etc. So I look at it this way again. People who find themselves in the social work field, like I said, they have undergo training in a particular profession. And I remember 2 weeks ago, we talked about the fact that social work is a vast profession. There is no other profession that you don't find social work inside. Whether you are talking about the issue of business administration or accountancy, you will see social work elements there. In administration, you see elements of social work there. In nursing, you see elements of social work there. In social insurance, there are so much elements of social work there. In housing, in fact, it is, when you talk about housing and social housing, the only thing that is fundamental in any country is the welfare of a person. Apart from food, housing is next. And if a person is not does not have good housing facility, and what makes a house to be a house, it is a social work concern. And that is why you have social housing. And in social housing, you should have more of social worker in that in those agencies or in that department. Why? Because what you talk about is the vulnerable person who must be who must also have roof on top of their head. When we talk about roof on top of a person's head, we are not just talking about thatch roofs, and we're not talking about roof in a dilapidated building, because there are some buildings that have good roof, but the block work is deformed. And so that we're talking about decent homes, decent housing. So you have social work there. So people who now study estate surveyor and valuing, and those who study about hotel management and things like that, you will find elements. You cannot finish that all these courses without coming across the essence of social work, or you cannot that you will not come across what, because you are serving human beings. Housing, people are serving, those who are in recreation are serving, social insurance, they are serving human beings. Nursing, they are serving human beings. This admin, accountancy, they are serving human beings. And wherever human beings are found are fields of social work. Because of that, we are saying that even though you find yourself as somebody who was from another profession in social work, you don't call yourself a social worker. That's first point that Professor Clark pointed out. The second point that was pointed out by Professor Clark was this, that they neglect to consider the professional qualities of a social worker, and so fail to understand what makes a person social work professional. Those we still face it up to today. Those who have worked so much for many years on the field of as desk officers of social work consider themselves as the real social workers. They will tell you that those who have gone to school to study social work and now they don't really know much about them. Yes, they go to learn theory, fine. Like the profession they belong to, where they also study, they learn also theories. So it is when they get to the field, they learn the practice. So social work is like that. It's about learning of theory and practice. That is why you see that we don't joke with the issue of practicum. And I want to advise you as well, or counsel you, that the time for your practicum is a serious matter for us, because social work is not just what we are teaching you now. In fact, what we are teaching you now is about 40-45%. Practicum is the base, the bedrock of social work. Like in any serious profession, if you are going to study medicine without going through your housemanship, you may not be allowed to so practice. And if you are allowed to practice, you are not a specialist. Others who have gone for housemanship and they have come out to become consultants, you will be serving them. Why? Because you don't know enough. And housemanship is not based on classwork theory. It is being ensured that you are mentored. You serve under a consultant, a very senior consultant. You learn. Apart from the learning you have gone through in 5 years of your studies, they will tell you this is now when your training begins. So for social work, it is also like that. Why is it this way? Because you are handling the lives of people, and you dare not joke with people's life. So all those training are inculcated into the training of the social worker, the theory and the practice. Like I said, and don't forget, the practice is the bedrock. It is the theory that you use in finding out and profiling solution for the people who are passing through one challenge or problems or the other. So those who are semi-professionals saying that those who have gone to school and don't know as much as them, will not argue with them. Social work is not arguing with them. It is the fact that for many years it has been like that. But now we see that social workers are taking their rightful place to train other social workers. Before, those who train social workers are from diverse professions. And since according to layman definition, even those who are our government feel that anybody can do that social work. So they can post anybody whom they have employed to the field of social work. You see how everything connects. It is not just layman on the streets. Even some people in government who are our leaders don't know what social work is. And because of that, they post people as laymen into social work fields to do social work business. And because those who were posted there by the government also feel that, well, they have known one or two things about it. They say they are social workers, but we are saying that it is not so. That is not social work. In this connection, it may be argued that a mother who successfully released a sick child is not, for this reason, entitled to be called a doctor who is a professional. A profession is characterized by special knowledge and skills. Special what? Knowledge and skills. Now, Professor Clark is bringing out the salient issues that makes social work what it is, and to bring out the points that whosoever have passed through this is a social worker. Whosoever have not passed through it is a semi or non-professional. So we are saying that a professional is characterized by special knowledge and skills. Somebody who have been posted by Fiat on social work desk, who have done only one course in school that relates to social work, will tell you, we have done it. Maybe there's guidance and counseling in their in one of their courses, or they talk about life and death in their profession, or they talk about administration of people in their course. And then one or two of those courses are also in social work. And because of that, then we are able to, but there is a specialized knowledge. There's a body of specialized knowledge that talks 90%, or in some cases 100% of that course that they may not have heard about. When they start hearing about it, maybe they went for PG or they went for master, they begin to hear about those courses, and explanation have been given about all that, even though they have some form, they've heard faintly about what they may they are talking about, but it's actually a special. So the bulk of the training is voluminous, and the way and manner the knowledge is transferred may also be different from what they are used to. Because of that, they want to ensure that with social work, there's that knowledge built into the people through theory, models, and practice. And then through that and the skill that is gotten from practicum on the field, you see the classroom knowledge transferred into the real life experience gives a person some form of knowledge and skill that he or she will use in practice. Then there is this systematic training. That is why training is a systematic build up of knowledge. And it is because of this that you can pass from 100 level to 200 to 300 to 400 level. It is a build up. It is systematic. It is building. One course is building on the other. The next is building on the other. And then you have the foundation, and then you have it like that being built like a house. Then we said we also have a systematic training. People are different. And you know that in many other professions, you have specialists in some areas. I remember I told you 2 weeks ago that there is this general practitioners. They are generalists. Then there are professionals. At your level, at first degree and PGD, it is generalist practitioners. You are practicing as a general practitioner. It is when you have now gone for your master's, that you become a specialist, first grade. Then you go for your PhD, then you build on your specialist practice, on and on like that. I say it, and it's not enough for you to just acquire knowledge and skills. It's like for every serious profession, there is what we call ethics and principle. It is this ethics and principle that says this is who this person is. And for herself before the clients, in his agency, with his colleagues, with those who are not his colleagues. This is how a person. So we talk about ethics, we talk about principle. That is what makes a profession a profession. There is discipline in it, there's redress in it, there's licensing issue in it, there's training issue in it. So there is all form of things that establishes that rooted a profession. And any profession that does not have ethics and principle is not a profession. Like you see, like you have sociology. Sociologists will not have ethics and principle. Why? Because sociology is the theory aspect of social work. Social work have ethics and practice. Why? Sociologists don't go for practicum. Social workers go for practicum. Sociologists, by and large, may not be dealing with the lives of people. They are theoreticians. Social workers are people who hands-on are on the vulnerable, are on the people. The life of the people are touched. It's like political science and public admin. Political scientists are theoreticians. Public admins are hands-on professionals. Why? Because they are basically on the field. So the same way social work is. So any profession that has ethics and principles is a full-fledged profession. And those who are working on that field, who don't belong to that profession, who don't have degrees and license in that profession, may not be able to follow the ethics and the principle of that profession. They will not even cherish it. Why? Because their training does not land them on code and principles, code of ethics and principle. They were not taught in school. They were not granted. They are not examined on that in school. When they were posted to that field, they were not given any code of ethics. So that is that. Therefore, it can be concluded that the interpretation of semi-professionals about social work cannot be valid for social work. Are we together?
Yes, sir. We are together.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you
Yes,
can
sir.
one or two people,
Yes,
can
sir.
one or two people, okay, thank you. Can one or two persons tell me why semi-professionals, semi-social work professionals are not social work professionals?
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
I think two basic things you explained. First has to do with the expertise. They don't have the expertise to, for us to call them social workers. And secondly, they do not possess the professional quality, and the ethics of a social worker. So we can't call them social workers based on these two, parameters.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Okay, can somebody say
Yeah,
something?
you said a professional is characterized by special knowledge and skills. Also, things like licensing, principles, all these make up what you consider a professional. So if a desk officer is involved with maybe admin work along the corridors of maybe an office, maybe an agency that deals with social work for a number of years. They might regard themselves to be professionals, but because they lack these things that I've listed before, they cannot be considered professionals. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's a beautiful summary of what we have discussed. Now let's look at scientific meaning. We found that as the third aspect of the arguments. So the third interpretation of social work is given by Dr. Helen Whitman. It is of course scientific, but it is too narrow to represent the real and perfect concept of social work. She said, the foundation of social work is to give assistance to individuals in regards to the difficulties they encounter in their house of an organized group services or their own performance as members of an organized group. By organized group, she meant that institutions like family, the neighborhood, the school, the church, hospitals, etc. And for example, in regards to family, she said the function of social work is to facilitate the family's normal activities through counseling and with individuals about the difficulties they encounter in family life, providing financial assistance or other material help that are necessary to secure a family's adequate functioning or helping the members to avail the required services from the different sources. If you look at Dr. Whitman's definition, you see very close to what social work actually is, but too narrow. The narrow is okay, a cause and effect, then you give a solution. But in most cases, that is not what social work is. That is not how social work works. Because it is not everybody that has challenges of lack that should be given things. Social work don't work like that. That's why you remember the last time we talked about the fact that social work is scientific. I remember I made mention of our politicians who normally do what do they call it now? Empowerment, and they'll just come with mailing machine, they'll come with sewing machine, they'll come with keke napep, they'll come with different kind of things to give to people. And because they know that so many people are so poor, they cannot afford those things. Even those who can afford those things become beneficiaries. And at the end of the day, you see that all those things that they spend millions of naira giving to the so-called, in their own eyes, or understanding the poor, at the end of the day, becomes nothing. Why? Because it was not backed by research. It is not scientifically derived. And then at the end of the day, you discover that they will come the next year or the next 3 or 4 years to repeat the same thing to the same set of people. Or those people will leave that place and go to another party. They will see, those who will see the same thing. It is just a route that they engage in. So Dr. Whitman is of that opinion that such a thing like that is what could be scientifically meant to be social work, whether in the family, neighborhood, school, or church. I know that in some churches, you will see there are so many poor people who go to churches or mosque and things like that. So that was our own thinking of what social work is, because or she was somehow an elite, a doctor. So in a scientific interpretation of social work, Dr. Whitman does not consider all agencies which claim to carry on social work activities as social work agencies. For example, she does not believe that public relief agencies are social work institutions because they primarily concerned with providing some form of assistance to all who meet certain specifications temporarily, rather than working at scientific solution of the problems through social readjustment with their impaired environment. Do you understand what he's saying now? Now, she went further. She said that even some ministries or agencies that claim that they are social work agencies are not social work agencies. Why? Because there are agencies that, under normal circumstances, are expected to provide certain amenities, certain things for the general public. If you are meant to provide certain things for the general public, you cannot say you are social work agencies. NEPA cannot say, or EEDC cannot say they are social work agencies, even though there are elements of social work agencies there. When some people are owing, and then you see, why are these people owing? And you are expected to take them to court. Then the court will determine whether they are vulnerable or not. Why would they determine that? They will look at where the person is working. They will look at the income of the person. They will look at the size of the family of the person. The court is going scientific now to determine who is qualified to get a rebate or to get a pardon from unpaid NEPA bill or EDC bill. Why is that person owing? They go into it. So when it is discovered that this person is highly vulnerable, then the social workers in that agency, EDC, will not be able to take on that person. They come. Why have you not been able to pay? Even though the court has said you are vulnerable. They work with the person to ensure that that person now gets something, or they advise the person on what he or she can start doing to make life comfortable for him first, or her first, and then help her to plan how to begin to now, how she will be able, or she will be able to now begin to pay small back to EEDC. That is social work angle of EEDC. But the whole of EEDC is not a social work agency. It's a profit-making organization. I hope you understand this. So many organizations or agencies, apart from the one designated, for example, in these days, we have Ministry of Humanitarian Disaster and not social welfare again, Ministry of Humanitarian and Disaster Management. So a ministry like that, because of its name, is a full-fledged social work ministry. Our Ministry of Men Affairs or Women Affairs, Child Affairs, they are full-fledged social work ministries or agencies. Or agencies like the Old People's Home, orphanages, those are social work agencies. For all other agencies or ministries, you find elements of social work in those agencies and ministries. So that is Dr. Whitmer's argument, which somehow is right. So she also excludes many activities which she feels are not directly connected to the problems of the people. Like if the end is not the development of general capacity, but that of helping individuals solve the particular problem they encounter in group relations, then she called the activities social group work in particular and social work in general. In this sense, most of the activities like that of Boy Scouts, Boys Club, and recreational activities are excluded from social work activities by her. Okay, let's just move ahead. Let's look at the generally accepted meaning of social work. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
We are
sir.
with you, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
We are here.
Together.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're looking at generally accepted meaning of social work now. So social work is a profession primarily concerned with the remedy to psychosocial problems and deficiencies which exist in the relationship between the individual and his environment. Note very well in this definition and compare it with the other ones we have looked at. We're saying that social work is concerned with remedy to one, psychosocial problems. Two, deficiency that exist in individuals, group, or communities in relation to their individual, group, or community social environment. So you cannot talk about social work without mentioning these three things because they are very vital. We call it biopsychosocial elements or biopsychosocial environment of social work. Biological
Sorry, sir.
aspect of social work.
Sorry, sir. We call it what?
Biopsychosocial environment. That the biological aspect of the environment, of the person, the emotions of the person and his character, the social life of that person, and the environment of that person. When I know that you are offering casework, social casework this semester. When you're handling cases, it is these four elements that you look at. A person can never be isolated. If you isolate one, you will not get the challenge of the person right. You will not be able to diagnose the person right. You will not be able to do a good prognosis of that person. You will not be able to now find a solution or to find solutions for that person. These four elements are key and vital in diagnosis or in diagnosing a service user or a client. The biological aspect of the person, the emotions and character of the person, the social life of the person, which includes his family, then the environment or where the person lives must all be taken into factors. This is how social work cases are handled. And this is how you will be able, coupled with other things, your skills and expertise at getting the loose ends or at getting the unspoken words or getting the idea that is behind issues that were raised. This is how you can easily place them side by side and with your skills, with your experience, with your common sense, be able to tease out that which is the issue or what the issues are and be able to make good recommendations or prescriptions and recommendations to your clients. So in the meaning, in definition of social work, all this must be incorporated. Some of us are finding it difficult to word for word say what the definition of social work is. But when you remember these four things, you are able to say what the definition of social work is in your own language. Okay, we'll go through it again. So social work is a profession primarily concerned with the remedy to social problems and deficiencies which exist in the relationship between the individual and its social environment. These phenomena always existed in the society in one form or the other, but achieved its scientific basis in the last decades of the 19th century. People in distress, that is, the vulnerable, the destitute, the deprived, have been helped in the past by individuals, joint families, church community, religious institutions, motivated by religious philosophy that assume charity as a reward or medium for salvation, humanism, philanthropy, humanitarian feeling, democratic ideology, equality of all citizens, regard for human personality, respect for others' rights, including the indigent and handicapped, the unemployed, the emotionally challenged, and above all, those who are in need. So the charitable work taken up by individuals and some voluntary organizations came to be termed as social work in the due course of time. So looking at those four phenomena, those four elements, and then looking at the people whom we are supposed to help, forms the fulcrum of the fact that those four things basically are exercised or are explained in terms of each and every one's challenge or problem. Whether the person is religious, whether the person is educated, whether the person is rich or poor, whatever the need of that individual is, and there's nobody who does not have challenges or problems. But like we said 2 weeks ago, we said the foundation of social work and every human care is humanity. You are not looking whether the person is black or white, rich or poor. You are looking at humanity. And that is the only thing that concerns social workers. And humanity affects a person's emotion. Humanity affects a person's uh, environment and the likes. So because of this, social work frequently see some misconception of who a social worker is, or who or what social work actually is. And that is why, because of this underlying factor, they see people who are philanthropists, who are charitable, who give alms, who does voluntary work and things like that, and you see the person is a social worker. But of a fact, social work aims at making a person self-dependent. If you look at, from what we explained, those who are philanthropists or those who engage in voluntary work or those who are uh, who do empowerment programs and things like that. The fact that most of the things they do are not scientific means that those people will continually depend on them. They continually depend on them. Somebody said in the north, the northerners, their interest is to give people food. And the next evening, you see them in front of their house again. Same sort of people, they will come, they give them food. So they can do that year in, year out. You see that person, they will say he's doing social work. But the fact is, that is not social work. Why? Because it makes the people to depend on them. Social work does not want anybody depending on another person. It wants people to be independent. And being independent means that you become a responsible member of the society who is able to also extend the hand of care and help to others. So a person service user who comes to your your organization for assistance, you are looking at making that person a person who lives your agency to become a responsible member of society whose psychosocial strength is able to carry others. So you make the person less dependent. You make the person self-dependent, self-reliant, responsible member, responsible to himself, responsible to his family, immediate family. They're responsible to his community. They're responsible to the world at large, to make his own contribution to the society. That is the goal of social work. People must not depend on you. If somebody come today to your facility and then come tomorrow, come every month of the week, and the person is still depending on you for advice, depending on you for this, and still do not have money, and you have not been able to teach the person how to make money, and all those things, then it means that your work is not effective. It means you are not a social worker. But a social worker must be able to win a person and be able to make that person into a responsible member of society, to care for himself and others, so that he's less dependent on him and on his family, and the person who does things for others as well. That is when you say you have done social work. Are you following me, please?
Yes, sir, we are following.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we're following you.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
We are following.
Yes, sir, we are following.
Yes, sir.
Okay, having seen those, let's look at our modern day definition of social work. You see, I'm taking time to do all this because it's philosophy of social work, not history and philosophy of social work. I'm taking that to build the foundation of what the philosophy of social work is, so that at least the second part of it will be the history of social work. So if we're able to get the foundation of the history and a story, the bulk of it is the philosophy underlying social work or behind social work. So later we'll just look at how did all this we're talking about, how did it start? And what is the present and what is the future of it? And then we'll end the class. Social work is an applied or behavioral sciences profession that promotes. Now, as I'm doing this, you're casting your mind back to those four elements. What are those four elements we talked about? As we are giving this modern day definition of social work.
Sir, is it the one
Casting
of
your mind
ethics,
back.
training, licensing?
No, the
No,
emotions, data, the social life, and the environment of that person.
Okay.
yes, you're right, but put it right. I put it in one word.
Yes, you
Isolated.
said, you called it a
Okay,
biopsychosocial environment.
biopsychosocial.
Okay.
Environment.
Okay. So be
Biopsychosocial
looking at it,
environment.
yes, be looking at it now in this definition that we are about to talk about. Okay, so social work is an applied and behavioral sciences profession that promotes human rights, social justice, peace and conflict resolutions, engendering social change, problem solving, and sustainable development in human relationships, focusing on empowerment and liberation of people and enhancing the well-being of individuals, family, groups, and communities, utilizing theories of human behavior and social systems. Social work intervenes at the point where people interact with their environments. Principles of human rights and social justice are fundamental to social work. That is one definition. Can you come out with those 4 points? Or at most 3? Some will not include the 4, you see 3. The least you could see is 3. But at least, normally, if you give a best definition, it should be 4. Those 4 elements must be included. But in this definition, do we have this 4? Or at most 3? I'm asking a question.
Yes, I can see. Okay, so human development person. I can see 2 right away.
2. What are those 2 you saw?
The environment there.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it talks about where people interact with the environments. So I can see the environments.
I've mentioned just 1.
Then I can see human behavior there too.
That is what?
That's cycle.
Okay. That's 2 now.
Yes. Those are the 2 I've been able to identify right away.
Okay, yeah. Who else want to identify?
So you can see the social aspects there, the social justice,
That's how many now?
That is
That's 3 now.
Family there.
That's 3. Then you can also see the sir.
I think you can also see family. You can see group.
Yes.
Those are part of social.
Yes, still under social.
So at least you have seen 3. What is the remaining one?
Problem solving. Problem solving.
What is remaining? We have seen 3 now. Those 3 are what now?
Psycho, social, and environment. So we are looking for the biological now.
Oh yes, biological.
Look more closely.
The biology is there already now. It's human rights.
No, that is not.
Human rights is not biology.
Okay, that's why it's social. That's
Yes,
social.
No, bio is the biological form of human being, the biological composition of humans.
Yes.
I can't even see the full definition here, so I'm lost. I was trying to copy as it was doing the lecture, but for me. No, I don't have. I was trying to copy. I don't have the
environment.
Environment is social.
Look at it very well.
Psycho, the psychopath.
You not see the psychopath. Do you have your material?
Okay, the biological aspect is the applied of behavioral sciences. I think that is the first thing. It says an applied of behavioral sciences.
Cycle.
Now, if you are sick, let's take an example. If you are sick, and the medical doctor, you go to the medical doctor and he tries to before then, if you go to the hospital, the first thing is for you to be clad, not so. They will ask you now, what is your name? What is your, how old are you? Where are you living? Where they will ask you all those questions, not so. After they have asked you, the medical person will write it or mark it on the card that was given to you. It's not for nothing. No. Some of us go to the hospital, not of that. Then when you get to the medical doctor will begin to ask you, when last did you experience this?
Vital.
When did you experience that? They will take your vital signs and all those things. So after that, you will not go to the medical doctor. Nurses that will take a vital sign. Then the doctor, they are passing you from one level of professional to the other. So you have met the professionals. Within that 10-15 minutes of your being into the hospital, Then you get to the medical doctor. Then the medical doctor will look at how you have been clad. The medical doctor will look at your vital signs. That will inform the medical doctor to ask you certain questions. Once you are asked those questions, they are trying to diagnose what the problem could be. If the signs of what you are saying is not exactly what you said is your problem, is troubling you, they now begin to ask you, they begin to ask you environmental questions. Where you live, do you have stagnant water? Do you have this? Sometimes it's okay, go and run a test. You pass it to the fourth professional, the medical lab people or professionals. Not so. So it is that those people, they now be able to synthesize, they may take your blood, or they ask you to urinate and do culture and all those things like that. They are coming somewhere. It's like that other person, the first person you met, was asking, so to say, physical questions. They are leading questions, your age and all that. The same thing is done in social work. They ask you all the, but social workers do a detailing work in clerking than medical practitioners, because they will ask questions that relates to your family to know whether this challenge had happened in your family. Even medical doctors also sometimes ask like that. You have BP, does your mother have any of your close relatives have high blood pressure? Have you heard that before when you consult with a doctor?
Yes,
Have
sir.
you asked that before? You ask if you have high blood pressure. Does your mother or your father have high blood pressure, or your sister, your aunt have history of high blood pressure? So now they are talking, and then they will even things that concerns your blood, like for example, there's paternity doubt. They'll go and do what? A DNA test. Not so. Those are biological aspects. The same way social workers must be able, for you to be able to diagnose a family. If a family is, an individual is passing through a psychological problem, there is no way they will not ask you questions about your family. Not so. There's no way they will not ask you questions about your environment. There's no way they will not ask questions about how you are experiencing what you are experiencing now. So in all this, biology is silent but present. Are you with me? You cannot be talking about the well-being
Yes,
of
sir.
others and not be talking about biology. You cannot be talking about a person if the issues, if somebody has a psychiatric problem, an emotional problem, there's no way biology is not in it. There are those who are working in the medical social work practice. There's no way you can negate biology out of it, because they say blood is thicker than water. Blood is sacrosanct. Blood is anything that has to do with human physique that leads to the blood of a human being that was gotten from his parents and ancestors. You are talking about biology. A human being has spirit, has soul, has body. Whereas is there no biology there? Is there no biology? Is that no biology? I'm asking a question.
It is, sir.
It is that, it is biology. Previously, people don't put that part of biology. They just say psychosocial environment. Are you getting me? They just talk about psychosocial environment. That's why you were able to identify 3 out of the 4. You are able to identify psychosocial environments. Now, but biology is present, but it's not pronounced, but present. So if I want to do a detailed social work diagnosis, you cannot negate biology. You see now, that is why in my school, what we do is public health social work, and in the first year, we do sciences. The physics, chemistry, biology, technical drawing, and all those things. Some of my students will come and ask me, hey, Oga, why are we doing all this? And number one is that my school is a technology school. So it's all science school. So I now begin to explain to them. You'll be dealing with human being. Human being is biology. Not so. There's an element of physics, chemistry, biology in the life of every person that stands in front of you who has a challenge. How do you do technical drawing, engineering drawing? You do engineering drawing because by the time you want to go and do home tracing, and you are giving your report of home tracing to somebody who was not there, you need drawings and things like that. And that comes back to environment. You cannot work on the environment or rural social work without the element of the environment, a ground understanding and knowledge of the environment. Or if you are working in a community, you'll be engaging in what is called resource identification as a social worker. So all the time, I said, social work is very deep, vast, and wide. So it is this biology that makes it complete. Without the biology, it's not your service will not be complete. Are we together? I don't know if you are getting what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Other lecturers may tell you psychosocial environment. They are right, but they are not 100% right. That biology aspect is missing, and it must be there because we are dealing with or relating with human being that have flesh and blood and have spirit, soul, and body. So, like I said, biology is silent but very much present and active. And I've demonstrated it with the fact that even in hospital, this is what you pass through, especially those who are working as medical social workers. You will always find this. Those who are into psychiatric social work, those who are into medical social work or health social work or whatever social work that are relating to health and healing. You will see it, or you are in you want to work with old people's home and things like that. The issue of schizophrenia is there, and all the other things that comes with old age, and all these things are tied to biology and the environment that gives rise to psychosocial that lead to psycho problems. The biology, social, as those you relate with your church, your family, your group, your friends, and institutions that surround you, and then your environment. Are we together?
Yes, sir.
So we said social work profession is committed to maximizing the well-being of individuals and society. You consider that individual and societal well-being is strengthened by socially inclusive communities that emphasize principles of social justice and respect for human dignity and human rights, including the right to freedom from intimidation and exclusion. So I want to end that definition there. You can go ahead and look for many more definitions of You will see many definitions of social work there. So social work encompasses professional activity directed towards improving human and social conditions and alleviating human distress and social problems. What does social work profession promote? We want to look at 6 things that social work profession promotes. We have seen it in the last lecture and even as we started talking on this lecture. Number 1 is social change. Number 2 is problem solving in human relations. We are just summarizing what we have talked about so far. Cast your mind back to those 8 philosophies of social work. And cast your mind now back to these definitions we have given about what social work is. Then we are taking that part to say, now, as a summary, what is social work profession? What does social work profession promote? The promotion of social work is 1, social change. Number 2, problem solving in human relationships. Number 3, the empowerment and liberation of people to enhance well-being. Number 4, utilizing theories of human behavior and social system. Number 5, social work intervenes at the point where people interact with their environment. Number 6, principles of human rights and social justice are fundamental. You can say that these are the principles of social work. You are right. But you can say it's also even a summary objective of social work. It will also be right. So that will lead us to what the objective of social work is. I will not spend much time here. I'll just itemize for us, given the foundation that we have laid so far. Just give okay, objectives of social work. We say that Whitman described 2 objectives of social work. Number 1, we look at 3 scholars who have tried to give the definition and objective of social work. We look at what Whitman, we have seen Whitman before. We look at Whitman, Fredlander, and then Gordon Brown. What they say, Whitman talked about 2, Fredlander talked about 3, Gordon talked about 4 objectives. But the 2 also are in the 3. The 3 are in the 4. So let me just go straight to what Gordon said. At the leisure time, you can look at what Whitman and Friedlander has said. So for Gordon Brown, he gave 4 objectives of social work as 1, to provide physical and material support. Number 2, to help in social adjustment. Number 3, to help in solving psychological problems of people. Number 4, to make adequate opportunities for the individuals problem for raising their standards of living, which can prevent problems from intruding or intrusion. Those are the 4 objectives that Dr. Gordon prefer as being objective of social work. For more elaboratory, let's look at the generic objectives of social work that are generally and universally accepted as objectives of social work. They are many, but those 4 we looked about, we just finished talking about, are also included in this generic objective of social work. Then we'll just look at it again one after the other. We may not need to explain much because as we were talking, we have done a brief of many of them. Number one is to solve psychosocial problems. Number two, to fulfill humanitarian needs like love, affection, care, etc. Number three is to solve adjustmental problems. Number four, to create self-sufficiency. Number five, to make and strengthen harmonious social relations. Number six, to make provisions of correction and recreational services. Number seven, to develop democratic values among people. Number eight, to provide opportunities for development and social progress. Number nine, to conscientize the community. Number 10, to change the environment in favor of individuals' growth and development. 11, to bring change in the defective social system for social development. And number 11 is to provide social legal aid to the needy who cannot afford to meet them. If you look at this objective very well, you will see meet with the four phenomena. You look at these generic objectives, which are 12 as itemized, you will still meet with those four phenomena. As a leisure time, just try and look at it. We said if you critically synthesize all the objectives given above, we can compress them just into two statements, such as enabling. We want to compress this 12 into two. Now, we are saying that the objective of social work is to enable the individual and his impaired being so as to make him fit to live a self-sufficient and satisfied life. Or number two, the objective of social work is to modify the social environment so that it becomes conducive for him to live happy and adequate life. Those are the two. Are we together?
Yes, sir. We're together.
We fire on or we stop here? How many minutes do we have now? It's 2 hours lecture, right?
We have 17 minutes.
Yeah.
So let's stop here.
You said?
Let's stop here, sir, so that our brain can put together what we are taking today.
That your brain can biologically process it.
Yes, sir. So that the psychosocial arrangement of our brain does not change.
Okay.
Because the biology part is seriously
seriously what? Nobody was talking about biology part. Hello, who is that?
Georgia.
What are you talking about? We have 17 more minutes, you can interact. What are you talking about biology part?
Right, the biology part is tired, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're tired. Do you still have any other lecture to do?
We have another lecture.
That's great. Okay, let me leave you to rest then to prepare for the other lecture.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Who is Felicia Egbe in the class? So
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
thank you, sir.
Okay,
sorry, sir. I didn't know you were still here.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I'm
sir.
saying here.
Okay, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Enjoy the remaining part of the day, please.
Thank you, sir.
You
You
too,
too,
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very
Good night,
much.
All
sir.
right, thank you, sir.
Yeah, have a
Thank
good night, weekend, sir.
you.